For the first time in 6 years, the Schumacher name is back in the Formula 1 game series. Hello guys and gals of the internet, I'm Simicast of YouTube, Mixer and Twitch TV, and welcome to what will be my final gameplay video for maybe up to 3 weeks, as the big announcement video from myself and Time Lady Games is imminent. It will drop at some point this weekend. Please keep your eye out for it. And please watch to know all the information you will need about the thing we've been kind of teasing at over the last couple of playthroughs or such. Something happening next week has actually brought the release date forward a little bit, but we will detail all in that video, so stay tuned and keep your eye out for that. So, as luck would have it, I can do one more video before that. And it's this, F1 2019's update 1.12 dropped yesterday, September 26th, and the biggest feature in that update, as you can see, is the inclusion of the 2019 driver and team lineups for Formula 2. So at Carlin, you've got Louis Delatraz and Norohobo Matsushita. For ART, you've got Nikita Mazepin and Nick De Vries. For Dams, you've got Santi Camara with Nicholas Latifi. The new team, Univirtuosi, who took over from Russian time, with their drivers Guan Yu Zhou and Luca Giotto. But no doubt the biggest and definitely the most exciting name for me is in Prema, and it's the son of the legendary 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher. It's his son Mick. For the first time since 2013, a Schumacher is back in the series. Look at that. I got so giddy when I saw that name. I was like, finally he's here. I've waited all year for this. I had to do a double take at first because I wasn't actually sure if it looked like him much at all, but after seeing him in motion a bit later in the video, I was like, yeah, that's Mick Schumacher, alright. He's pretty much on point. His helmet is just brilliantly done. They've recreated his helmet so well. Ferrari January, a Driver Academy, to Keep Fighting Foundation sticker on his car and overalls the lot. Mick Schumacher is in this game. Oh my god. Now, just a quick thing to note here, you will see Manuel Correa in the game as well as Anthoine Hubert. Now sadly last month there was a huge crash in the feature race of the Belgium event in Formula 2 that sadly took the life of Anthoine Hubert and left Manuel Correa with serious injuries. Fortunately he is over the worst. I think he's still in hospital, but I think he's now stable, but unfortunately Anthoine Hubert lost his life in that crash. I'm very surprised this still came out in the month of September, even though it is really late. I was expecting it to be delayed because of the circumstances surrounding that incident and the loss of Hubert, but I guess they've cleared it with the Hubert family to allow his driver model to be in the game. So there he is next to Tatiana Calderon. Now Tatiana Calderon actually looks pretty on point for her actually. I'm quite surprised how on point she was, and is actually, I think, only the second official female driver in a racing series, the other one being Danica Patrick for NASCAR, and the first female driver in an F1 game kind of officially, because of course there's been very few, if any, female drivers in the field. And obviously, as you saw there, Anthoine Hubert is in the game. We will have a tribute to him at the end of this video, so stay tuned to see that. And finally at Trident, you've got Giuliano Alesi with Ralph Bachon. So these are all the drivers and teams that started the 2019 Formula 2 season. There's another driver transfers like Arjun Maini or Marino Sato, for example. It is all from the start of the 2019 season. So that, of course, does include Anthoine Hubert and Manuel Correa, most notably, of course, with the sad circumstances involving that crash. So this is going to be a Mick Schumacher focused video. I was going to do it at Spa, but considering Spa was the scene of that sad incident that took the life of Hubert, I decided to switch tracks. I feel it made the most sense to be at the Hockenheim ring. Now the German event is not a part of the Formula 2 calendar, but considering that we're Mick Schumacher, I think it makes the most sense to drive around the Hockenheim ring for this particular video. We are also going to do full distance races for both the feature and sprint races, as this is kind of a special event to me, as for the first time driving a Schumacher name since 2013 in the classic content. So I decided to have the races at full 100% race distance and everything else as normal, including the difficulty of 82. So the first ever race is Mick Schumacher in a Formula 1 game for 6 years. Let's go to the practice session.
Welcome once again as we get set for another intriguing Formula 2 practice session here at the home of German motorsport, the Hockenheim Ring.
Okay, so considering I haven't driven these Formula 2 cars for the best part of a few months, the last time was in the finale of the 2018 F2 Championship season playthrough with Lando Norris at Abu Dhabi. So considering all of that, the best and first and most sensible order of business was to go out for this practice session, get some laps in and get readjusted back to these cars after being away for a while. I just spent maybe the first lap or two just taking in the fact that I'm playing as a Schumacher again. This is the first time I'm able to play as a Schumacher in an official sense for 6 years. The last entry that Michael had was of course part of the F1 Classic content for F1 2013, but the last time Schumacher was on an official grid in the official game was of course 2012 when he had his final year for Mercedes. So in hindsight, we've actually been waiting 7 years for this as part of the official numbers go. And of course I am playing as Michael in the rewriting storyline of history that I am doing for YouTube, but as far as between his last entry and now, we've waited 7 years for a Schumacher entry in a Formula 1 game. It's so surreal because I'm playing as a totally different Schumacher in a totally different style of car, and he is a different Schumacher. He's not his dad, he's totally true to himself. Of course, there are the comparisons of how good will he be compared to his dad, and will he be as good as his dad, and all this complete nonsense that Mick really just wants to avoid. Let's not do that. Racing as a Schumacher is a big thing, and that's really why he raced under his mother's maiden name for a year or so while he was going through the ranks. He just didn't want the notoriety that comes with being a Schumacher yet. But since it came out, that people did figure out that he was Karina's son, and Michael's son obviously, he's handled it really well. He's handled it like a complete champ. He's got his head down, and he's got on with it. And it's brilliant to see the maturity under such a big name get on so well. And it's been brilliant. And I just wish people would throw these comparisons between him and his dad completely out of the window. If he's not his dad, let's not do that nonsense. But of course there are the cynics on the other side that say, has he earned his drive because of his name and all that crap? And really, I just point you to last season's Formula 3 European Championship, the fact that he became the champion. One thing I have noticed about Mick though is that he is a very late bloomer. He's not right out of the blocks quick and like instantly on the pace as say Michael was back in 91. If you remember, Michael was instantly on the pace in the Jordan, qualified 7th. Mick is a bit of more of a late bloomer than that. He's a lot slower and he takes time to learn what he's doing. His first season of Formula 3 European Championship wasn't all that impressive. It wasn't really eye-catching per se. And the opening of the 2017 year wasn't that eye-catching either, but then we got to Spa, and then from there on, Mick won 5 of the next 7 races and was consistent enough to take the title right from under Dan Ticktum's nose, from out of nowhere. No one expected him to come through as he did, and he did it brilliantly. So Mick is earning what he is on his own merit. He's just a bit more of a later bloomer than his dad Michael, but in terms of this game, I put Schumacher right to the top, although it did take me 6 laps to get that far, but now I feel rather comfortable, and that tops the session for the day as well.
As all cars are now over the line, your top 3 again are Schumacher, Delatraz and Nick de Vries. That concludes an interesting practice session. Let's hope for more excitement as the weekend unfolds.
I can't begin to tell you how giddy that makes me feel seeing a Schumacher name back at the top of timing screens once again. Unfortunately in Formula 2 for real life this year, it hasn't been a sight I've seen too often, but again, Mick is more of a late bloomer than his dad was. He's learning the car, the tyres, the tracks, and I have almost no doubt in my mind that in 2020, Mick Schumacher will be one of the challengers for the 2020 title. It won't be easy considering the talent in this field, but he'll be right up there just like he was in Formula 3 Europe last year.
This is it. Qualifying. This is where the drivers need to put everything they have on the line to make sure they impress.
So this qualifying session, of course, is to decide the grid for the feature race of the weekend, and times are coming in. Luca Giotto has been replaced by Nicholas Latifi in terms of pole position. Mick had his last lap invalidated for exceeding track limits, so he's going to have to go again. But as you can see on your left of your screen, there is a raindrop on Mick's visor. It seems that rain is going to play a part in this qualifying session. So with the track at its driest, this lap needs to count for everybody, and this could really muddle up the grid as well. If people are on the right tyres at the right part of the racetrack at the right time, if rain does persist. Don't forget that Formula 2 does not run the intermediate tyres, and you're going to be naturally slower in the wet anyway, inters or not. So this could be the only lap of the session that everyone gets with the track at its best, as Hubert moves aside for Mick to continue his qualifying lap in the second sector. Of course, we have no delta time because our last lap was invalidated for track limits, and it's almost again there, 2 wheels off the track. But it looks like the FIA are letting him get away with it. Another raindrop has come down. We're about half a second, I believe, off Nicholas Latifi. So I think in terms of how even the F2 cars are, that could be good enough for, say, 10th for the moment. But I believe Latifi's actually the car in front of us. He's actually going round again, it seems. He's going to finish the lap, but the rain is getting a lot more intense. It's not downpour, but it certainly could be affecting the grip in the dry tyres and the grip on the track. Schumacher goes P2, and if rain persists, that could be where he starts.
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top three: Latifi, Schumacher and Jordan King. Goodbye for now then, but we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So the rain did persist, even though it was very light rain, but it was throughout the session, and very few drivers went out after their first laps to improve their times. I believe Giuliano Lacey was one of them that tried, but he only stayed in 7th. So the order stayed as it was, meaning Nicholas Latifi is on pole alongside Mick Schumacher. He's followed by Jordan King, Luca Giotto, Guan Yu Zhou, Santi Camara, Giuliano Lacey, Jack Aitken, Louis Delatraz, and Nick De Vries for ART down in 10th. A great effort from Giuliano Lacey and Tatiana Calderon in particular, who qualified 11th. Callum Arlott brings the back of the field.
I can see the teams completing their final preparations out on the grid as we get set for another enthralling Formula 2 race here in Germany at the Hockenheim Ring. With a storied past, the Hockenheim Ring, located in the heart of the Rhine Valley, houses a wonderful balance between technicality and pure power, helping to show off the many facets of modern motor racing. We'll be expecting a competitive race out there today from these young drivers. That then, let's run through the grid order. A fantastic qualifying from Nicholas Latifi yesterday puts him on pole, with Mick Schumacher alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have King, Giotto, Guan Yu Zhou, Ansete Camara, Lacey, Aitken, Delatraz, Nick De Vries, Calderon, Boccalacci, Anthoine Hubert, and Boschong, Galeo, Correa, Mazepin, and Mahavir Raghunathan, Matsushita, and Callum Aylott starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
You should have some space going into the first corner, so try to keep it tidy.
So sitting on the grid ready for this feature race, the beginning of the formation lap, let's check out the race strategy. It's 38 laps, as we are running 100% distance for this event. As I said, it's kind of a special occasion, so I decided to have 100% races for this one, but obviously it will be edited out and edited down for your viewing convenience. So as you can see, we got pretty bogged down in the formation lap start there, and we kind of stalled for just a second, but thankfully an anti-stall kicked in, and we were able to get off the line and keep back up to Latifi, who is sitting on pole ahead of us. So in the feature race, you must make a mandatory stop and switch to the other type of dry weather compound tyre, which at this weekend, if it was official, would be the softs. We are running the ultra softs to start the race because in 2019, Formula 2 still runs a very similar tyre setup to F1 2018, where they had the ultra softs and the hyper softs, etc, etc. Now in 2019, it's so much easier to understand in Formula 1, where they run the softs, the mediums and the hards, but in Formula 2 2019 they still have very similar tyre regulations to F1 2018. I'm not sure whether they're changing it for 2020, I guess we'll have to wait and see. So you must make a mandatory stop and switch to the other type of dry compound tyre. And there is only a certain lap which your mandatory pit stop will count if you make the stop after, say, lap 4, which is something that I actually learned recently. There was a set lap in which the pit lane kind of fully opens. It's open throughout the race, but it opens up for mandatory stops on, say, lap 4. And if you have to make a pit stop due to damage or anything on the first lap, that stop will not count towards your mandatory stop. You must make a mandatory stop after lap 4, and you must also make a mandatory stop under green flag conditions. You cannot make a mandatory stop under safety car or virtual safety car conditions, which I learned in the Spain feature race when I was convinced that Schumacher would have pitted for damage before the safety car, and that would have counted as a mandatory stop. It didn't, so he had to stop again to make sure the mandatory stop counted in form of the sporting regulations. So them is the rules, as they say, as we line up on the grid for the first race of the weekend. This is Schumacher's home event, and hopefully we can bring home a win, or maybe two, depending how we get off to the race here. So this is my first time doing a full race distance in quite some time, even though 38 laps is pretty much a norm in Formula 1 at 50%. So that is line up on the grid here, and here come the 5 red lights for the feature race then. It's lights out, and away we go, and it's quite the average start, and the TV gets away like a rocket, as does Jordan King, who jumps ahead of us. It looks like everyone's got through the first corner rather safely without incident, but Mick Schumacher has lost the position. He's lost second to Jordan King. Nicholas Latifi made good on his advantage at pole position and leads the field going into turn 3, going up to turn 4 after this very, very long straight, which will be the second DRS zone on the track. The first one is at the start-finish straight, the second one is after the first corner, and the third one is this zone here as Luca Ghiotto tries to have a look down the inside in the new Uni Virtuosi car that took over from Russian time at the beginning of 2019. He can't make that move, stick on the inside. Schumacher holds on to third place as Jordan King seems to be making inroads on the Latifi. If he can obviously stay there, he'll be in DRS range. It's a very good effort by the MP Motorsports driver there, Jordan King, up into second place, and we're still being led by Nicholas Latifi. It's Latifi, King, Schumacher, Ghiotto, and I think it was Santi Camara, or actually it could be Zhu behind Ghiotto, actually, because that looks very much like his teammate Guan Yu Zhu's car. So it's Latifi, King, Schumacher, Ghiotto, and I believe it's Zhu who are the top 5. Obviously, Zhu is the Renault Academy driver, as well. Schumacher's the Ferrari Academy driver. Of course, as Schumacher gets out of shape in the final corner and holds it after a brilliant slide. It looked great for spectators, but Schumacher probably used up wear on his tyres there, but he managed to keep it on the track and keep it in third place. A great piece of car control there by Mick Schumacher to keep it in the third. And we cut now to lap 4. Schumacher has the fastest lap, and now he's going to have DRS. Is he going to have enough there to pass Jordan King? He's quite some way behind him, but DRS is going to close that advantage down because King doesn't have it off the TV. Schumacher takes to the inside, almost onto the AstroTurf, and King is not making it easy. He kind of leads into the entrance of the first corner, but Schumacher holds it after a traditional Schumacher lockup, using the lockup to turn the car, and it paid dividends there as he takes second place as we cut to lap 13. And Schumacher's been kind of cutting into the Latifi's lead, but obviously following the Latifi doesn't spell well for his tyres. This is actually his pit stop lap, which you can see he's going to have to pit because he's about 60% on the front left. And here we go again down the inside. He's forced to the grass again by the Latifi, again not making it easy. But Schumacher's going to do the traditional lock up into the hairpin, and he's going to hold it. Brilliantly done by Schumacher, using some traits from his dad, using slides on lockups to turn the car. But here we go then into the pit stop. And Schumacher spent most of the first stint just kind of trying to keep up with the Latifi and eat into his lead, eventually culminating in passing him on lap 13, but this is his pit stop lap, so he'll lose the lead. The Latifi goes on. One of the Uni Virtuosi cars goes on as well. Jordan King there behind us is also in the pits. The pits are pretty standard fare. Schumacher's never going to gain nor lose places unless he's held up by traffic. Doesn't look like there's any coming through. Of course, the Formula 2 pit stops are much slower because there's less of a pit crew in Formula 2. I think there's a very significant number less working on the car than an F1 car, which is the reason why the pit stops are slower. Schumacher has come out behind Nobuhiro Matsushita, and this is the lap later. We're looking at Nicholas Latifi, the race leader, coming into the pits. He's had a pretty commanding time of it up front, and now he's had the clear space in front of him. He's been able to look after his tyres for a lap more than Schumacher, so I guess Latifi is going to come out in the lead. There's the other Uni Virtuosi car there coming into the pits. He's pitting a lap later as well. I think there's someone else coming in behind us. He doesn't look like he's going to get held up by a pit crew. Here we go then, cutting back to Schumacher with the action on the track. And obviously he's going to fly past everyone who's currently in the pits, including his teammate Sean Galeo there, as Giotto was in there as well. That was the Uni Virtuosi car, and it looks like order has been restored with the TV leading out of the pits ahead of Schumacher and again Jordan King. So it looks like the order has been restored from what it was behind the pit stops. Not much of a race going on behind us as of yet. But here we go then, big cut to lap 22, and once again Schumacher has been eating into the lead that Nicholas Latifi has. It looks like Schumacher has good pace around this circuit. Obviously he probably knows it like the back of his hand, being his home track of course. But Schumacher's been really doing well, just keeping behind Latifi, and he's actually kept the wear down as well. So the moment he gets in DRS range, he'll definitely have a shot. As we cut to a replay camera then, is this going to be the opportunity maybe for Mick Schumacher to pass Latifi? He's got the DRS open, Latifi's got no defence as he's the race leader. Schumacher pulling to the outside then in the Prema for the race lead, and this will be for the definite race lead as the pit stops have happened again. Schumacher locks up at that corner, and will he have the traction coming out of the exit? Yes he will. Brilliant move there by Mick Schumacher to take the lead, but it looks like he's going to get a strange message in just a second.
So all of our tyre pressure data is reading 0 at the moment. Assuming they still look inflated to you, we're going to guess it's just a bad sensor. Shouldn't be anything to worry about.
Well guys, I've got to be honest, I have never had that message before. That is bizarre. But apparently in Mixed Garage there is a faulty sensor that reads 0 on all mixed tyre pressures. Which basically means he has punctures in all of his cars and can't drive it. But on the track, it's a very different story, because Mick Schumacher has been lighting the place up in this final stint. Fastest lap of 128.3. I think he's got a 3-second lead over Latifi. He has absolutely blitzed it in this final stint and takes a well-earned win with incredible pace in the Prema. Mick Schumacher wins at home and the crowd goes nuts. A Schumacher is a winner again. And it was a beautiful final stint.
A great win then for the Prema team today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
This race, this win, was about one thing and one thing only: consistency. Anyone can be quick for just one lap, but there's a difference between that and being quick every lap, over and over and over. If you can do that, if you can gain ground when your opponents make mistakes, but then not make mistakes on your own, you can just push and push.
It looks like it's time for the victory ceremony once again, as I can see the drivers beginning to make their way out for the celebrations. You can see it on their faces. It's another marvellous team win for Prema today. Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
Nobuhiro Matsushita is my favorite one. Today was amazing. He made so many overtakes.
Goodbye for now then, but we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Plain and simply, Schumacher absolutely blitzed it after passing Latifi. He set consecutive fastest laps on the harder of the two compound tyres and deservedly takes the full 27 points on offer in today's feature race. For the reverse grid, it's Jack Aitken and Sean Galeo on the front row, followed by Delatraz, Camara, King, Giotto, Latifi and Schumacher. Everyone from 9th down will start where they finished for the sprint race, which we will head over to right now.
And here we are, back after yesterday's exciting feature race for today's sprint. The top 8 from yesterday have been reversed for the grid down below, and we're almost ready to start.
Here we are for the sprint race, and here come the 5 red lights. The top 8 from the feature race have been reversed on the grid, meaning Jack Aiken will lead the field into turn 1. Lights out, and away we go. Looks like Jack has got the good start ahead of Galeo on the front row. Meanwhile, Julian Malesi's gone to the left immediately to try past Schumacher on the outside. And then on the other side, it's just De Vries. 3-1 doesn't go. De Vries gets hit. Does he avoid the wall? We don't know. Alesi has been the biggest benefactor for the melee. He's up into 8th place and past Schumacher. So 3-1 into turn 1 didn't go. De Vries come off worst. We can't really place blame anywhere. That happened really fast. Maybe the race stewards could make some of it after the race, and I think that will be investigated. So let's stick to the live action for now. We have Schumacher in the slipstream of Giuliano Alesi round the outside into the hairpin. Schumacher's favourite passing place on track over the feature race, and he's passed Alesi there as well. So the latest victim for Schumacher at the hairpin is Giuliano Alesi. He's back up to 8th place where he started. And now he's chasing Latifi as they resume battle from their battle in the feature race down the inside. And in the space of 2 corners, Schumacher's made up 2 positions. A slight lock up on the front left, but he's made it stick somehow. And now he's going to veer wide due to oversteer. That's going to really hurt him because of the lock up. It hurts the understeer. These Pirelli tyres definitely not as durable as the Bridgestone tyres his famous father used to race on, which allowed him to lock up the wheels and get through corners like that. So Mick has to be mindful. It's a nice skill and trait of his dad's, but the Pirellis do not have the kind of lasting grip levels that the Bridgestones do. So Mick's going to have to be mindful of that. But he's been locking up all day in passing cars, so he's got obviously no problem with that. And as we go down into turn 1 on lap 2, look at Giotto down the inside. Schumacher cuts the corner, and Julie gives the position back to Giotto. He didn't learn anything. He might get a black and white warning flag for cutting the corner. Doesn't look like he has. I think he might have got a warning from his pit crew. Meanwhile, still on lap 2, and again round the outside of the hairpin goes Mick Schumacher to pass Luca Giotto. And King has assisted in that by getting in Giotto's way a little bit. And Schumacher takes full advantage, has better traction on the outside, and takes 6th place. Now on to lap 4. Schumacher, currently the fastest man on the circuit and a man on form. We have DRS. King has DRS. King tries to defend the inside. Don't defend the inside too early, Jordan, or Mick is going to go round the outside all day long. Locks up about twice or maybe even 3 times there, Schumacher. Somehow he keeps it and stays in the corner, and they're still side by side on the exit going into the very fast right-hander, and King is going to, and Schumacher gets, did he go off the road? Did he gain an advantage, or was he hit by King off the track? Maybe Schumacher will argue that he was hit by King, and Schumacher's really racking up the notorieties on the track today. He's going to be involved in 2 incidents he's probably going to have to speak about. Meanwhile, Galeo and Camara are battling on the track. Camara's had a terrible exit, and Schumacher is down the inside and up into P3. He's only got 2 more positions to make up before he leads this race, and we're only on lap 6. We've got to lap 7, DRS in the 2nd DRS zone before the kind of 90-degree right, I think that is, round the outside before we even get there as Schumacher into turn 2. They're still side by side on the straight, but Schumacher's going to have DRS because if it's behind Galeo in the detection zone, and there's going to be easy pickings for Mick Schumacher. He's up to 2nd, and now chasing race leader Jack Aiken in the Campos. Schumacher with yet again another fastest lap of 129.2 on the hard tyres. He just seems so comfortable on that set of rubber, doesn't he? And here we go out of turn 3, I think it is, onto the long straight towards the hairpin. Mick Schumacher's favourite passing place of the entire weekend. Fastest man in sector 2. He's within a second of Jack. He gets to open DRS. He goes to the left. Jack defends with the left because he knows Schumacher's been passing there all day. And Schumacher right there on the curb. And he gets ahead of Jack. Is he going to hold it? He's going to lock up. And he passes Jack despite Jack not making it easy for him. Pushing him to the limits of the track. It was fair enough. But Schumacher wasn't having any of it and took back the race lead. And now he's held it for 14 laps with Santi Camara breathing down his neck. But Mick Schumacher has handled it like a champion and wins the 2nd race of the weekend. Total domination in front of his home crowd. Once again, the crowd goes nuts and Schumacher shows why he was Formula 3 European champion.
Here's our winner, pulling their Prema into Parc Ferme then. What a fantastic race. Davide, what do you think made the difference here?
This is why I love this sport. Their car dominated the track today. You could tell they went in full of confidence, with a clear strategy in place. They displays excellent knowledge of the track and made it count when it comes to some of those more tricky corners, allowing them to make huge gains on some of the less confident drivers. I guarantee the fans will certainly be talking about today for a long time to come.
As we look back on a thrilling race here today, we can now see the drivers take their places on the podium. It's a familiar sight by now, as it's another successful F2 win for Prema. And now, Davide Valsecchi, let me ask you, who is your driver of the day?
My driver of the day is Mick Schumacher. With this team, Prema Power Team, they made the difference on the race strategy. Fantastic.
Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling installment when Formula 2 returns.
So as stated at the beginning of the video, we're going to round off this by running my tribute to Anthoine Hubert. It is a lap round Paul Ricard as him in the Arden, stopping at the P1 grid slot at the end of a lap. Rest in peace, Anthoine. We love you and we'll miss you.